And Elise Stefanik is a lot of things. Stupid isn't one of them, but high on her own supply might explain why she asked this question. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? I mean, I think so much of this became complicated. To boost or not to boost, to mask or not to mask, and it became personal. And I think that's a tougher conversation. But are you better off than you were 4 years ago? That's up and down, straight up. Of course we are.
4 years ago, our country essentially went to war, and we were attacked. And we looked to our leaders as our allies and friends around the world were being attacked, and we looked to our leaders to take us through it. And in that moment, Trump was faced with the question of what kind of wartime president will you be? And we've now seen he failed at that test. It was his 9/11 moment, just like Bush, and he failed spectacularly to take our country through this wartime moment. And I view it in that context because we're still grieving. There's still trauma. I've dealt with war for 20 years, and the impacts of war stay with you for a lifetime. And I think even now we haven't faced that trauma, that loss. We haven't had a national mourning. And I think that's actually Biden's strength. He has an opportunity not just to look back, but say, where do you want to be 4 years from now? You saw what he did. You saw what I did. Which one of us do you want to take you through this next war that we may not even be able to anticipate? And who can take us through that mourning and try to find a better place in the days ahead? There's so much packed into it. But I think if you think about it in that context of a commander-in-chief taking a nation through a wartime moment, he failed.
I mean, we have to sneak in a break. There's so much to say about the trauma. We're all back. Paul, this is super triggering. I just peeked at social media, and everybody has something underneath that we've sort of buried away when it comes to talking about what we were all doing 4 years ago.
That's the big part of this. It's the trauma. We have gone through this terrible, horrible thing together, and we haven't even really processed it. Now we've got politicians who are going to play on it, right? I had 2 kids under 4 at the time. I was at Ground Zero on 9/11. I've been deployed in combat. COVID was harder. COVID was more emotional, in part because we had to be there for our kids, and we had to take them through combat, which was much more traumatic. And I think the better strategy politically for Biden and for his allies is not debating whether you were better off 4 years ago. Because if you're explaining, you're losing on some level, and you've got to get to independence and people who are influenceable. I think the question you ask them is, remember that trauma? If it happens again, who do you want to take you through it? Wow. Do you want me or do you want Trump? And if it's another COVID coming for your kids, or it's Hamas, or it's a cyber attack from China, who do you trust to be the person in this chair? Who do you trust to have his finger on the trigger and on the bomb? That's the question. If I were Biden, I would push forward to the American people, and especially to independence.